All right, we're gonna see if I can get this thing to move for me. We'll go on to the next video here. Here we go. All right, so let's look at a couple more examples of how to do this. Okay, how do we continue to solve these? So let's look at this one first. All right, we'll just do two examples in this video. We have the absolute value of n minus 8 is less than or equal to 2. Okay, so again, like we did on the intro example, we have our first case, which is our positive case. So we're going to have n minus 8 is less than or equal to 2. So basically your positive case is always going to be just drop your absolute value signs and just write it out how it is. And then we're going to have our negative case. Okay, so case 2, our negative case, is going to be where what happens if this is negative inside of here. So we got to find a way to write that showing it's negative. That's why you put it in parentheses. You put it in parentheses to show that the outcome of this, the result of n minus 8 is negative in the negative case, and then the absolute value signs would act on it and make it positive. So let's do case 1 first. All right. We always seem to do the easier ones first, don't we? So n is less than or equal to 10. All right. Excellent. This one, distribute that negative sign, and you get double negative here, right? You have a minus and a minus, right? And that becomes positive. And then we're going to subtract 8 from both sides, and then you're going to get a negative 6 over here and negative n, all right? Well, if I multiply both sides by negative 1, it becomes positive 6 over here. We've turned our sign around, and we get positive n. So we have n is less than or equal to 10, and n is greater than or equal to 6. So for this problem, we'll say this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll say this is 10. It's going to be similar to the introductory problem, where we're going to have a situation that looks a lot like an intersection. Okay? So there's our marks, right? There's our it's less than 10, so it's going this way, but it's greater than or equal to 6. So here you go, all right? Fill that in, and any of these numbers in here should work out. So like if we use 7, let's try 7 just because it's in there. We go 7 minus 8, absolute value of that should be less than or equal to 2. Well, that's the absolute value of negative 1. It's less than or equal to 2. Well, that becomes 1. And is 1 less than or equal to 2? Yeah, sure is. All right. So pretty straightforward example, just kind of reinforcing what we know. Now, 1b is kind of an interesting example because it would be all too easy just to say, oh, okay, I'm going to do case 1 here, and I'm going to do the positive case, and right, and then kind of keep going and then find your negative case. The only problem is, and you have to be careful with these, is look at the problem and think about it for a second. This problem is saying that, hey, if you take the absolute value of something, it's going to be less than or equal to negative 3, right? Or just less than negative 3. Which means it's going to be a negative number, right? So think about that. It's absolute value. It's an absolute value equation. If it is an absolute value equation, the answer to an absolute value, or inequality, sorry, the answer to anything with absolute value has to be positive. It can't be negative. There's no way for it to be negative because that kind of defeats the whole purpose of that. We're talking about distance here. We're not talking about, positive and negative numbers. We're talking only about distance, and distance is always expressed as a positive when we deal with it in algebra. So when you have a situation like that where there's really no way to solve it, you would just say, well, hey, you can't solve this, so we're going to call this no solution. We can't solve it because it's not a plausible situation. All right, so these are kind of two examples of one showing you something you're familiar with, and one showing you kind of a situation we haven't really looked at yet. But when you see something like this, you can pretty much go right ahead and say, oh, well, this doesn't work out. So that would be no solution. And then we'll do one more video where we do a couple more examples of these.